Morse, the program director for Working on Campus, working with DLI. And with me, I have Angie Andreessen. She is our business analyst. And I have some folks from CRT on the phone as well. I believe Melissa Parrish and John Brothen are both on the phone. So with this, I say thank you and invite and welcome to the Answer Hour. We are recording this session, so if anybody couldn't attend or would like to hear this recording, we will be posting the recordings. And also, like all other Answer Hours, please put your information in the chat, and we will answer your questions as we go through this presentation. I think we've done enough of these now to know that we like the conversation, that we want to, really be conversational and make sure we get all that information to you, or you get your feedback to us. So with that, we'll get started. The agenda today is the same style that we've been doing, which is we'll do our release updates from the 11th. We'll talk about some known issues we have, and we'll open up for question and answers, and then of course we'll talk about upcoming Answer Hour sessions. Okay, so for trading partners and insurers, some of the things that we have fixed. Case sensitivity, is now fixed throughout campus. Sure you are sequencing issues. We've been able to, we fixed that. That was something that we had some problems with. Issues when e-forms in some instances. So that's the sequencing thing with when some people are doing the web forms. They're going online and the web forms are, out of sequence, but that has been fixed. And then permanent impairment body part error on Shroy e-form. So those were resolved in this last build. Let's talk about some things where we know are out there that we're working on. And I'll talk about some news of some exciting news of release we're looking at doing some of this stuff. So the URs edits on those AR data elements, they're still out there. The edits on the claim numbers are out there. Now on the claim numbers, we did put a fix in where we do allow staff to update those numbers. So if anybody's failing on a claim number mismatch from legacy, you can contact our staff. They can contact the EDI team. They can update it, and and then you can resubmit the transaction, and it will go through. On the other ones that were rejected for that reason prior, we did do a database update based on the information you sent, and updated those in the system. So if you still have rejections out there, you can resubmit those for that, and they will go through now. But going forward, because it is a match data element, it will still throw an error, so you still got to contact the team to update that. But that's something we've been doing for the claim admin claims. The issues with TPAs linking to claims in limited instances. Again, we are doing a data cleanup on this. We tried with one TPA so far, and the results were not as anticipated. So we're going to go through and do another data cleanup activity to get this working, and then we will start to institute this for all the TPAs that are running into these issues where it's making you try to be part of multiple groups that are the same TPA. Okay, company name rather than adjuster name listed on some documents. Inactive claims showing as open, and then the other filings unable to upload other filings on closed files. Those are all things we are working on here, and we will have some updates to those shortly. Yeah, and something I have gotten some questions on that I just wanted to clarify is people are trying to upload documents like a notice of benefit payment or something to closed files instead of doing the EDI transaction. So you do want to make sure you're doing the EDI transactions and not just uploading paper documents into the files, because those do not count as the count as a filing with the department. So if you have questions on that, or if your adjusters are doing that or having questions on that, please have them reach out to the department EDI team. It's something we want to watch out for, so there's no confusion out there as to do with the filings and what filings have been filed with the department and what are not accepted. Okay, Angie, do we have any questions?
There was just one question about sensitivity and the need to send in all caps. You do not need to send the transactions in all caps. So the fix was actually specific to the filter functionality when you're on those tables that list all your claims or something like that. There's been some instances where they were actually requiring case sensitive data to find things. So that was the issue that was occurring that we have resolved. But as far as submitting information to the department, there's no need to put that in all caps. You can send it however it is in your own file. And a couple more questions. If we need to file a SHROI suspension on a legacy claim, do we need to file a SHROI IP or is the UR sufficient? So in that instance, if you already submitted your NOPLD to us previously, what you would want to do is your FOR-UR and then your SHROI-UR. You'd want your SHROI-UR to be reflecting all of the documents, or not all the documents, I apologize, all of the benefits that you had previously paid to that employee. And then after that, you could do your suspension transaction, and that should be just fine. Any chance the MTC date on the EDI filings can be added to the NOPLD and NOID for forms as the date served on the employee, or is this even needed when we are submitting everything through EDI and campus provides the forms back to us? So the intention for that is actually for you all to record the date that you serve it on the employee after we send it back. So that's intentionally blank. You wouldn't have to put it on the form as long as you all keep documentation on your end for the date that you served it on the employee, should the department ever need that proof. So that's why that one is blank. That should just be the date that you all are serving the employee, and you just want to save it for your system records. Next one, when filing a PY for a lump sum PPD payment, where do I list the rule number for the rating and how do I attach the doctor's note? So there's actually a subsequent filing that is done. So when you're sending just your PY transaction showing your payment, you can just send your payment information as you normally would. I can actually go ahead really quickly here and get into my test system and show you all the form that I'm referring to if you'd like. Bear with me just a second here while I get into that test system. While I'm logging in, I'm going to go ahead and field the next question. Are we still considering being given the inclusion of the employer name when searching for claims to assign? Tammy, we do have that feedback logged. So Brad, I don't know if you want to give a really quick overview of how we work through that feedback while I'm pulling up this PPD web form.
Yeah, that's a good question, because we do take your feedback seriously and we do log that information. What we do with it is after it's logged, it gets prioritized by the product owners, and then we start to slot it for releases if it's something that is valuable and adds value. Currently we haven't done a lot of improvement feedback items, just because we're trying to get the system stable, and you don't want to introduce new requirements when the system is still we're still getting all the bugs and getting all those things identified with the system. So we have done some changes. You guys have probably already seen some of the changes we've done, just because it was just needed to allow filings and not prevent service and things like that. But all those other items that have been identified, we do keep a list of them, and we start to prioritize them, and start to look at our future release cycles, and we will let you know when those items could be worked on.
Thanks, Brad. So just to address the question that was posed regarding the PPD information. So after you've submitted your PY, or you can do it before you submit your PY, you'd want to come into campus and click into claim, click the submit filing button, and then you're actually going to go ahead and select the PPD follow-up web form. And this is going to give you space to add your PPD rules, your percentage, your total benefit amount. You can upload your medical report here and then just indicate your payment type. So your payment type would either be a lump sum or periodic payments. Depending on what you choose, it's going to ask for some additional information. But this will actually generate a form that you can send to the employee as well. So this is just kind of a subsequent form that we use to gather just some additional information that we're limited with in EDI related to PPD ratings. Next question, when filing PPD due to findings and order, is there a spot to indicate that this is the reason why we are making the filing? So I believe that you would just need to indicate in the, there are data elements that specifically give you the award order date. So you'd want to enter that date in the award order date. And I can see, Melissa or John, could you possibly look up those DN numbers so we can provide those to Meredith? Then you would also want to choose a lump sum or payment, I think it's lump sum reason code is what it's called. You can indicate that it was an award or order. So you would want to include both of those fields, and then we would know that it was part of an award or order. There's just a question here about PYs. Are PYs working? And we've not been successful in getting one to accept. Sherry, if you could send me a couple of those examples, I can take a look and see what's happening on your end.
But the answer to that is yes, we have had PYs submitted and working.
Yes. Next question, when inputting a payment on a PY, are we to include withheld attorney's fees or only what was paid to the employee? So if you're showing a payment, you would only be showing what is actually paid in your payment segment. So if you're paying to the attorney and to the employee in that instance, you would show two payments. You would show the amount paid to the employee, and then you would also show the amount paid to the attorney in that one. So your payment segment should truly just show what is being paid and the checks as they are being paid. All right. Next one. So this is kind of a long one. There are just some multiple issues that this user is having. There are issues with multiple self-insureds that are being administered by one of the insurers or third-party administrators, and it's indicating that a different company is handling it. This has happened in a few instances. Is there a way to change the information on the DLI side when we disagree on what insured is handling the claim? Also, there have been some disagreements between us and you about the correct fee numbers for different self-insureds. We can't change that on our end. Lauren, if you want to send a list over to me or kind of an email summarizing that, we can dig into that a little bit deeper and see what we can do to resolve those issues. All right. We continue to have issues with no action going through filing a Shroy IP or SB during the submit function. Is this an issue other carriers have? Beth, can you remind me, are you an e-form filer? And if so, just go ahead and put that in the chat. That would make a little bit of a difference. I'm having a little trouble understanding that one. Is there a fix for not being authorized to upload documents in some claims? Getting an error message when trying to upload Annoyed 3 to a claim, and it says that I'm not authorized. So that is something that we've seen intermittently throughout the system. If you're having that issue, if you wouldn't mind sending me an email and letting me know what claim you're having that issue on, and include your document if possible. It seems to be very specific to certain documents or certain claims. So if you wouldn't mind sending that, that is something that we're trying to kind of dig a little deeper on. Since we no longer mail or email documents to Minnesota, how do we submit a video from our IME doctor that we would normally put on a CD? Do we still mail those, or is there a way to download them into Campus? Brad, I'm going to go ahead and have you field that one, if you don't mind.
That is one of those exception cases that we have where a piece of physical evidence needs to be entered into the system. So right now, you would still send that into the department if you have a piece of physical evidence like that.
Thanks, Brad. Can we send the employee the old paper forms, but file the required EDI transactions in Campus to save time and not go back in to get those forms? Brad, I'll have you address that one as well.
I think that's really a call for compliance. Are you on? Melissa or John? So the system's designed that the reason why you need to go in and grab those forms is to ensure that the data that you're giving to the employee is the same data that was provided to the state. Sometimes with EDI, because there is timing and there are rejections, that it's been found that those get out of sequence. Where somebody will send a form to an employee, with a date on it, and then the EDI transaction follows, a few days later. Now they don't have the same data on them. So for that, there's that's why we are, we want everybody to use those forms and to send those forms to the employee, and that is what is required by the department. But if there's any further questions on that, I would recommend contacting the client or the EDI team. And you can put their email in there for any of those questions, because that really comes right down to a compliance issue. And so I don't want to speak for them. I'll just speak to what I know has been established.
Great, thanks. Scott, you mentioned that you are having the same issue as Kristen. So if you wouldn't mind sending those over to me, that would be great. I can take a look at those. Continue to have some issues with the rejections related to the date of birth not matching the SSN. Will there be a fix soon on these? We have confirmed the information is correct. So with that, I would recommend just continuing to send those to the EDI team. They can update the date of birth in those instances. If you just let them know what information you have reflecting the correct date of birth, they can update that for you. Beth, so to follow up on your earlier question, you're having issues submitting your IP for e-forms when all the required fields are completed and you're not getting an error message. I would like to set up a meeting with anybody who is experiencing that issue, just a quick 30-minute meeting. So right now I'm seeing Beth and Allie. If you all wouldn't mind just sending me an email, and I will try to schedule something with you so we can screen share either tomorrow or Friday. Bridget, we file via EDI through EBIX. I've done a few PUIs for orders to pay attorney fees, ROAF costs, and disbursements. The only place that they seem to fit is under other benefits, total claimant legal expenses. The payment report that was generated by Campus doesn't have the award date, nor is there a way to indicate the payments were for ROAF costs or disbursements. So what we would have you do, total claimant legal expenses definitely works for that. There should be an award order date. I can take a look at the form and see if it populates that date, but there is an EDI data element that indicates the award order. So Bridget, I'll take a look at that. You said you mentioned that you put the date in. I'll check and see exactly what is populating on those forms. It may be that for some reason it's just not pulling the data. And Karen, you mentioned you're having the same issue with the Shore you are, so you could just send me an email. We can get something set up. And Kelly, I saw your message as well. Something to put out there too. I did have earlier today, or we did have an e-form answer hour. I'll be getting that recording over to our communications department for those of you who may not have been able to attend. That had a lot of good information. So if you were unable to attend, we'll get that put up on the website so that you can view the recording. Next question. We're having issues where we filed the suspension and it did not generate a NOID. In a conversation with DLI, they stated that we have to create paper forms since we were missing the return to work dates. Is there going to be a fix on your end so we can enter the return to work and submit the SX to create the forms? So you should be able to enter the return to work date in your transaction. Unfortunately, with the way that EDI works, the only way that you would be able to update those return to work dates after you filed that suspension is by sending an O2 change or by sending a subsequent transaction. Since the O2s are just broadly going to impact the file rather than the specific maintenance type code or the transaction that you sent, it's a little bit difficult for us to match it up to that SX transaction. So that's the reason why it wouldn't generate a new form. In those instances, you can certainly reach out to us and we can try and work with you, but there wouldn't be a way to resubmit for those. I have a couple claims where there is an overpayment of indemnity benefits. I indicated in the proper field, but it does not show up anywhere in Campus or on the form generated by Campus. I can go ahead and take that as an action item, Bridget, to see if that's included on the form anywhere on the page. Okay. We have continued to receive rejections on FROURs for invalid sequencing and no record of the claim in the legacy database. We received an email today from DLI that there was a related defect that should be fixed. We have a lot of these. It looks like you guys are getting 5 or 6 or 6 or 7 of those. It does not appear to be fixed. And if you could send me some additional information on that, I'll take a look and see what could be causing those sequencing errors on your end. I may not be able to respond until tomorrow, but I can definitely take a look at that. Can you point me in the direction of reference documents for how to add information to claims that were submitted before Campus? So in that instance, you would want to submit a UR. I'll go ahead and pull up some information related to that. So if you need to submit a UR, which you would do for any claims that you initially reported to the department prior to 11/2, so that's kind of the key is if it was reported prior to 11/2, it could be dates of injury prior to 11/2 that just weren't reported. You may not need a UR on those. So just kind of running through that criteria, and I'll put this document in the chat. If you look at number 7 here, it just outlines when you would need a FROI UR and a SHROI UR. You would need to make sure that you're filing your FROI UR and possibly your SHROI UR on these before you file your next SHROI transaction. So just take a look through these requirements, make sure that they make sense. And if you ever have questions, you can always reach out to us. And Janet, I will go ahead and pull up our Campus Central page and put that in the chat as well. Just some questions regarding our Thursday release notes. So those are going to be on Campus Central. And they would be right here in the release notes. And then those are all pieced out depending on the group. So I'll put that in the chat as well. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat right now, but we can certainly continue through. Brad, do you want to provide a little bit of an update on just the release notes that we're posting to Campus Central and what those would all entail and the timing for those?
Yeah, we do release notes every Friday. We're putting them on the Campus Central page. We're trying to target them and put them with the relevant subjects, for instance, EDI or, based on stakeholder group, but get those release notes in there.
Good
We are
morning,
working.
ACS. This is Alex.
Oh, somebody's not on mute, I don't think. All right. Thanks, Angie. And then, but yeah, we're getting those release notes published every Friday. We'll have more stakeholder communications going out, obviously. So we're really trying to make sure we're communicating everything that's going on and what is has been fixed. And then we will get out some communication soon on a release and a large EDI release that we're working on that will address some of these issues that are a lot more complicated. Sequencing issues, match data issues, and then some of the AR data element stuff. So we will be communicating that to this community shortly. We just are trying to finalize our plan for that and trying to finalize scope. But everything else will be put on the Campus Central page for communications. So we want to make sure that people have a place to go and be able to see what was released and what is upcoming.
Thanks, Brad. One other update that we wanted to provide as well is regarding our answer hour scheduling over the next couple of weeks, since it is holiday weeks. So we will be planning not to hold these answer hours next week or the following week. The plan is to resume the week of January 4th. Just for confirmation or just to kind of get an idea, it seems like these are fairly well attended. Is this something, these answer hours specifically for the insurers, trading partners, self-insurers, TPAs, if this is something that you all would like us to continue, if you could just let us know in the chat. And additionally, any feedback on other types of communication. I know we're planning to continue with our newsletters and our release notes on the Campus Central page. If you all find that useful, just let us know. So that we can plan to keep scheduling these. And it looks like we're getting a lot of yeses. So we'll plan to keep these going in 2021.
Perfect.
And again, so just another quick call out. After this answer hour, we'll be doing a specific group management answer hour. That'll just be a 30-minute one, specific for those of you in this meeting who may be group administrators for your company. So that'll happen right after this. As I mentioned, we did have our e-form answer hour earlier this morning. We're planning to continue those in 2021 as well. And then we also have an EDI specific answer hour that is scheduled for tomorrow morning. So if for some reason you haven't seen those invites and you would like to attend, please let us know. We can always forward that information to you. And those events are all available on the website as well. So with that, I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. Brad, do you have any last thoughts or any comments? Or does anybody else have anything else that they'd like us to cover?
I would just like to say, thank you for everybody for participating and giving us feedback because, this does help the system and does make it a better system. We know EDI especially is a very complicated set of requirements and very complicated to implement, especially from your side where you're trying to mirror up some of your processes. So we appreciate all the input. And of course, like I said, we do take all the feedback down and we do prioritize it, and we do want to make sure that, when the time comes, that we are able to do some of these upgrades that you're requesting. And for that, I just say thank you, and I think we can adjourn the meeting.
Great. Thanks, everybody.